Hi everybody, Monday on Astral Oracles. I've been wanting to do some channeling for a while, but I also feel that many of the things that I want to examine seem to be so difficult for me to lasso in and get a grip of without necessarily just adding to the confusion or sharing half half baked ideas, very doughy ideas. So so I think it is kind of the question of how to approach these things and how to share some of these visions that seem to be cropping up in my mind, because I've been thinking a lot about Mother Earth and our planet, and have had the experience of really feeling very attuned to her energy field and awareness, which is all around us. And somehow this material body, which gave rise to us, is connected to us in an intelligent and willful fashion. I don't believe that she's blind. I don't believe that planets lack awareness. But we often state as a kind of beautiful platitude that we come from the stars. And it is, of course, true that all the more complex or uh, dense elements are created in dying stars. So, for that reason, there is a lot of star matter in us. But it also seems with these ascension scales and ascension ladders, that we have an intuition that our path is one that carries us towards the astral rather than the planetary. And I've been looking into it in the Indian tradition, just tentatively, curiously coming across some of these patterns, both in the Rig Veda and in some of the Buddhist notions of enlightenment, which is available to humans, asuras, and deities. And it seems that some of the oldest patterns in the Rig Veda have these intuitions about the uh, avatars, the asuras, these benevolent incarnation sons of infinity that she gives rise to, that they will turn into Surya, the sun, eventually. And this is, of course, also what is kind of been moving through the present astral oracle here, and a very good example of this is the eighth dimensional solons, which is that solar imprint that they claim that we shall become as we turn immaterial. That's a very fascinating pattern, I feel. And yet I am also informed recently by these strong intuitions, that we are somehow created, not only for, but as an extension of Mother Earth to maintain certain functions and upkeeps there. And a very strange intuition I've been having is that we are a kind of weapon system to ward off meteorites. And it's the Chicxulub impact event, so the massive strike that happened in the Yucatan 66 million years ago, which wiped out almost all life on the planet. And of course, most of the dinosaurs, which didn't turn into birds, they they all perished. And that intuition that we were somehow brought here for her to change certain currents and paths in her own trajectory and development, because planets are intelligent and they have certain paths, themes, personalities, qualities. It's quite evident they have certain qualities. But I would also pose that it's very difficult for species that are as young and inexperienced as we still are to have a grip of these massive developmental scales and horizons of time which the planet moves within, because she's doing something now. And last week I had this sense of almost an urgency, a break, a stop in it. And then I began realizing what it was. And that's what you've also been experiencing with the solar flares and these great shifts that are taking place in the year 2024. What's happening is that she's beginning to inhale. She's been going through an exhale, and it's been taking approximately 12,000 years. Um, and I do believe, I just got remembering my history here, that that is about when the last ice age, the Weichsel ice age, began to recede and clear out, which was when people settled up here, for instance. So it's this now. She's beginning to do something with energy and pull it into her planetary body, and that will create this kind of what we've been predicting with the polar and planetary and magnetic shifts that is somehow happening to her. Um, and it's going to do something with the fundamental energy structures of humanity. And we've been going through this four-pillared, four-layered experience as we've been living on the arrangement of the continents that they have now. So notice that almost all of humanity lives within certain ridges, and one is the sort of Austronesian one that moves from Australia and then upwards, up until northern Siberia, and with Japan and China included, and the other, of course, is the other side of Africa and Europe. So that Atlantic Western Seaboard, and then it's the American coastal lines. And if you move outside of these spaces, you will notice that the energy is really strange. Like it's completely different, and that's like Iceland and Hawaii and the Azores and the Polynesia, like these strange distant places. They exist kind of energetically out of that place, and she's going to somehow break those energy barriers open and begin to let energy flow in a different way around the planetary body. I cannot tell what that is about, but I think expect a few earthquakes at least, and that's not to warn anybody. It's if you live in an earthquake zone, you get used to it. Speaking to somebody with the other day, it's we really do get used to these pulses and beats of the earth wherever we live, and then we rebuild, and that's a part of us being connected to her body. But with that talk, where I can felt that I was kind of channeling or bringing something through, which my conscious mind can't quite grapple with, I pass the torch over to our great mother and hope that she will lend her energy to my voice and give us some clarity and information on this. I send you my love out there. In wholeness and unity, life force beats at different pulses, different rhythms, and different intersections. Some of them appear as fracture, and some of them appear as a gentle encounter between opposites in harmonic convergence. Greetings. I have no name but those you give me. You know who I am. Yoron is the day, today, the word, and the name which the emotional heart of this being presents to its awareness to connect to my plentiful, overspilling love. It spills over. These forces, you cannot contain them, and you never could. It was never available to any kind of physical beings on my surface to control me, to hinder my movements, the natural, deep, balanced beat of my center. Never could any being I allowed to grace my surface, and I blessed with a morsel of my bounty, be allowed to control or contain my dance as I step along the edges of the divine song that's emitted from the center of the galaxy. You were not wrong when you thought that the spheres are singing, that they are alive. And because you don't understand this great composition, you think the other planets serve no purpose, or that they are there only to influence Earth. You do not think that they are part of both the attraction and contributing to it in their magnetic pull towards the center, in their forced and pressurized circumference. moving in and out of circuits and performing a ballet of passing eons, do you see that the force which draws the planets to the center is the force which makes the center hold the planets in place? Gravity always becomes levity. All forces are counterbalanced, counterposed by opposites to keep them in place. And you have not yet experienced your planetary mother give off the force to you which causes you to take off rather than to be earthbound. This is what this darling hairless monkey, one among many on my surface, he has been sensing in my being. It is a shift which comes with levity, with greater energy, with volatility, and thereby with greater bounty. This energy is present for you always, for you to tap into. But know that every time either a phase of humanity, and there have been approximately 4 such preceding high civilizations of humanity for the past approximately 500,000 years or so. Every time you moved into a state where you thought you could wield, pin down the energies I was feeding you with, that you could make them predictable, stable, homogeneous, fabricated, you began to grow ill, and these physical ailments, they preceded the fall of your towers and your civilizations. This time it will be different, though to many it will not appear as such. There are tools available which you have attuned to, and there is an ascent happening which I will lend my momentum to. But expect the world to stir and your configurations of it to change. that great serpent, which you have called currency, money, capital, you find its energy has grown disconnected from its relationship to reality. And so it has become like a dead world unto itself, which lends reality to shadows and shadow to reality. And you have been forewarned many times by many teachers, walking the earth in many places, in many guises, in many voices, that if you do not remain attentive in service to reality at large, if you do not remain watchful of the world's workings and your inner goings on, then you would get lost in this maze which you call life. And so let me bring you out of the maze, out of these tight and constrictive spaces which you become lodged in by attempting to place other things in them, and allow for true energetic bounty, that which is omnipresent and available to you in a shape which is adapted to your heart's calling. Let that be available to you from the stars, yes, but from your planetary mother too. This is the message which I find helpful and pertinent to convey to you this day. You will know the rest in time. My deep love for all life forms who grace my surface and island life too. Love to you, my children. Farewell. Love to you indeed, guys.